Call this my coming out of the closet song. I'm not at all ashamed to say that I'm growing marijuana in my yard. I'm growing marijuana in my yard. I got little pots of pine spread out all over the lot, 'cause I'm growing marijuana in my yard.
Yeah, we wish, don't we? Don't we wish? Well, here we are again. It's June 9th, 2019. Time for our LICNY Sunday podcast. I thought I'd do it from home today because it's such a beautiful day. And no, I'm not growing marijuana in my yard yet. Neither are you, probably. If you are, I hope you have a fence and you're cool about it. But we're back. And I must apologize for the absence a couple weeks, for the last few weeks. But shit happens. Basically, life happens, and so does death. So does business, so does pleasure, so do family, and so do friends. They all happen. And had more than my share the last few weeks. But life goes on, and we're back. I must say, I really appreciate how the group has grown and seems to have taken on a life of its own. And it's because of you guys. You guys are all over it. Man, the daily conversations, the news postings that you folks put up, you're sharing ideas, you're venting. Lots of venting going on, a lot of venting this week. But that's good, really. You know, it's good for me, too. I know it is for both, for me to do it and to see it when we vent. Sometimes I see the futility in it. And sometimes I recognize that it's cathartic to let it out. It feels good. It's a release to let our frustrations out. So sometimes I see posts that I think are foolish, and I recognize myself in those posts too. And I think that helps me, and hopefully helps you, to take a second look at both your comments and ideas, and how they can make all of us better advocates and better activists, and to have better conversations around cannabis, no matter where we are, at home, at work, in public, in private, changing minds and spreading truth, debunking one reefer madness lie at a time. So, but please, y'all, you know, go ahead and get pissed. I mean, there's a lot to get pissed about these days. Things are slow moving. But get pissed, then get busy, because one without the other really doesn't get us anywhere, does it? And go ahead and be facetious and name call if you feel you need to do that. Swear it up. I don't care. I'm not offended by foul language. I mean, you want to find a baseline somewhere, I suppose. But this is the internet. It's not public radio. It's not public television. Say what you want. But I do remember learning how it is harder to call someone a dipshit to their face than it is by tapping on some keys on your phone or on your computer. It's a little bit harder. And I learned that when I had to sit across the table from some prohibitionists when I was involved in Senator Griffo's panel. So it's a little harder then. But one thing I learned for sure, and I think we would all agree, it's the squeaky wheel thing, right? Squeaky wheel gets the grease. You got to make a little noise to be heard. You got to make a little noise to kick the door open so people listen to you at all. And so they know what we're talking about. And evidently, we've still got some squeaking and squawking to do, don't we? Yeah, we do. So what is going on in Albany? People keep asking me, where are we? Is it over? Is there still a chance? Who's responsible? Do you have a crystal ball? What's going on? Well, in the tradition of our state representatives, they're wheeling and dealing behind closed doors, their midnight bargains, their promises, trades, and favors around controversial legislation on the days, the hours, and the minutes before recess. I'd say, maybe, you could say, we're right on track. Because that's so often how it goes in New York. Look back. And with that, it gives us reason still to be optimistic. So I'll go back up to those questions. What is going on in Albany? Business as usual, people. Business as usual. They don't do anything fast. They don't do anything controversial in the light of day. Where are we? Well, I'd say It's the bottom of the ninth. There's one out and one man on, and it's a tie score. Anything could happen. So it depends, doesn't it? Depends on what the next batter does. Depends on what the next pitch is. Depends on what the next calls will be. Depends. So we know what we have to do, don't we? I mean, have you done it? Have you actually done it? I have a few times. Probably sick of hearing from me, but have you called your assembly person? Have you emailed them? Messaged them? They hear you. Don't think they don't hear you, because they do. I know it seems abstract and you might think, oh, they won't listen to me. And you'd only be right about that if you don't bother, if you don't call. They definitely don't hear you. Maybe you'll just be leaving a message or sending an email, but someone in each representative staff is going to see it. They're going to count every one. And you got to keep those comments respectful. You know, you can vent here. We can let it fly here, but when we're in the public space, you got to keep them respectful. You got to keep them real. Even if you've ripped them a new one a few times online, when you communicate directly, be respectful of their office and of the chair that they sit in. I remember an interview with Ray Charles when he was talking about the lyrics in rap music. And he said, don't sing or say anything on stage you wouldn't say in front of your mama. Makes sense to me. So be like James Brown. Well, don't go home and beat your wife with a ball bat, because he did that stuff too. But you know, be facetious and be spicy online, but follow it up with some actions and some conversations suitable for the public space, okay? That's how we'll make progress, and I hope we're going to make some. Because we may not get legalization by this year. Or we may. Either one will bring very strong responses, and we know which one we want, and we know how badly we want it. And I think the way we react, no matter which way it goes, will say a lot about us. Will say everything about us, particularly if it doesn't go our way. And we know everything we need to know about our opposition and those in government who are working against us. We know how they work. There's nothing new to be learned there. But we also know that the opposition, the prohibition crowd, they're on their last gasps. They're taking their last dying breaths, whether we get it by June 19th or not. It's not a matter of if, it's definitely a matter of when. All you have to do is look around the United States. Illinois just kicked our ass, made fools of us. Get it through the legislative process. Set up a regulatory market, set the whole thing up, beat us to our goals. We can no longer claim to be number one, and we can no longer claim that no one's ever done it through the legislative process. Not the whole thing. Vermont did it partially and freed their people legislatively, but they didn't set up the market. Illinois did it. We never will be number one on that. And as far as legalization goes, the most we can hope for is to be number 12. So it will happen. And for all intents and purposes, for a lot of people in New York, it already has. New Yorkers are going to destinations across our borders every single day. They're flocking to Massachusetts. Going to Vermont too, where it's legal, although there isn't a market. People are going up there enjoying cannabis. Not to mention Canada. Canada's beautiful this time of year, especially this time of year. Go on up. Cross the border. Top of the state. Cross the border Niagara Falls. Cross the border Alex Bay. Go enjoy some of their lovely cannabis, but for goodness sakes, don't bring it home. You're crossing customs. You're going through customs there. You don't want to do that. But the handwriting's on the whiteboard, people. Legalization's happening very soon, whether it be June 19th or not. New York State's going to have it. Okay, a couple of things from this week. The fentanyl in the weed story. Whoops, there it is. There it is. We called it, didn't we? I mean, we had to open the door a crack to, maybe? No. It wasn't true. Not even a microgram of fentanyl was found in that contaminated bag of devil's lettuce downstate, down in Hudson County, wherever it was. It made the national news, and all the locals reported it, and our sheriff came out and did a special warning to us. Fentanyl in the weed, see? Never know. Poison. No poison. No fentanyl. When they finally got down to a real lab analysis, not some stupid field test that failed, evidently. We'll talk about that. But when they did their due diligence, sent the samples out for an official lab analysis, came back, no fentanyl. So is our sheriff or the media, are they going to come back now and give the all clear? No fentanyl in the weed, folks. Smoke them if you got them. Yeah, don't hold your breath. I'm not holding my vapor either. But really, give the sheriff a break. Give the guy a break. He didn't know it was bogus, and he doesn't really know much when it comes to cannabis. So you got to give him a break. If there's a safety concern, even remotely possible, that some contaminated something or other is going around, he's right. He's right to warn us, and I'm cool with that, and you should be too. But, you know, I'd still love to look him in the eye, shake his hand, and say, thanks for solving that one, sir. Thanks a lot. And smile. Okay. So much for the fentanyl in the weed scare. It was bullshit, and we called it. Good job. All right, one little other detail happened within the group this week, and I wanted to explain myself in case there was any confusion. Why did I boot the guy that was advertising his paid Learn to Grow weed class? You know, I regret that I even had to do that, but I did. And I regret it because we fight to make what he wants to do legal. Hell, we fight to grow our own. We fight to have concentrates. We fight for our freedom. We fight to share our cannabis. But for now, all those things are illegal, and although I've participated and I do respect civil disobedience exercises at times that move us toward our goal, in my view, that ain't it. That wasn't it. And I explained that to this person twice, nicely. And he came back to me with some shit and sarcasm, so I gave him the boot. I hope you understand, and I'm just trying to keep it real here. Let the motorcycle go by. For the good and for the safety and for the future security of all of us. So I hope you do understand that. Next paragraph. What's going on with CBD? Well, I'm watching that closely because I sell it, and it's popping up all over the place. If we do get the Marijuana Regulation and Tax Act, and it's the only legislation that I know of in the pipeline that we may get, CBD products are going to be put under the same umbrella, the same regulatory framework as full spectrum cannabis. So that could mean it gets removed from regular store shelves and has to be sold in dispensaries. I'm not sure exactly what the wording of the proposed legislation is. That'd be fine with me, and I'll tell you why. Because I sell it, and I'm into it to help people. And I explain to people how slightly higher THC than the law allows in over-the-counter CBD products now, slightly higher THC content calls into play the entourage effect. Now, the entourage effect just recognizes the beautiful cannabinoids in the cannabis plant, all of them. And there's hundreds of them, over 200 so far, between cannabinoids, terpenes, and terpenoids, both acidic and, once converted, become available to us inside in our endocannabinoid system. What's allowed in CBD products legally over the counter right now is 0.3%. So 0.3% CBD is legally allowable in these CBD formulations that people are buying left and right in all kinds of places. You could have 10 times the legal amount of THC in a CBD product and still be nowhere near the percentage it would take for you to feel high, for you to feel a psychoactive effect. Or if you did feel any, it would be so minuscule, it'd be even hard to recognize. It'd be 3%. Any cannabis user who's paid attention or has been to dispensaries and recognizes the target area for good quality cannabis, it's probably 4 times that 3% to begin with, starting at 15%, going all the way up to the 30s. And average good quality cannabis in the mid to high 20s, I would say. So that 3% would still be lousy weed, but that amount of THC in a CBD product, considering the entourage effect, would deliver the pain relief, the insomnia relief, the beneficials that cannabis offers much more effectively than just CBD alone. So if CBD has to be placed in dispensaries in order for it to be accessible to people for their pain, I'm okay with that, because I think that'll also make slightly higher THC ratio medications available to people, and they'll discover how much more they can get what they're looking for, and even those who aren't looking to be high whatsoever. So there was a great article last week, by the way, about a local video store, Family Video selling CBD. Then in another state, a Family Video franchisee was on national news because law enforcement in that state was telling them to take it all off the shelves. So even they straddled that line. But to me, I like to see CBD in family-oriented stores like that, because it kind of normalizes the whole idea of cannabinoids, makes it more mainstream. And that's what CBD is doing to the idea of cannabinoids and cannabis. Make it more normal, make it normalized. You know, it's all cannabis. Hemp is cannabis, marijuana, pot. Those are simply slang for cannabis. So a few percentage points of THC doesn't change the fact that you, sir or ma'am, as I tell people when they buy CBD from me over the counter, you are using cannabis, pot, marijuana, weed, no less and no more than someone sucking on the top end of a bubbly bong. So welcome, you pothead, welcome.